We turn now to the new feature film, The Mauritanian. The film tells the story of Mohamedou Ould Slahi, a Mauritanian man held without charge for 14 years, during which time he was repeatedly tortured. In the film, Slahi is portrayed by Tahar Rahim, and Jodie Foster plays Slahi's lawyer, Nancy Hollander.
If you stray outside the designated areas, you will be removed from the island.
It's recommended you wear a hijab when visiting your client. We've had incidents of inmates spitting at female lawyers.
You want to represent the head recruiter for 9/11.
Mohamedou Ould Slahi, the Mauritanian held in Guantánamo. He recruited the guys who flew your friend's plane into the South Tower.
He put those men on my husband's plane?
I'm gonna make him pay.
In the event the detainee lunges for you, push back away from the table. We'll get in there as quick as we can.
I'm Nancy Hollander. This is my associate. We wish to represent you.
We are seeking the death penalty, but if we miss something, this guy goes home. Let's get to it.
Call this number. Speak to my mother. Tell her, I don't know, something nice.
The U.S. government is holding upwards of 700 prisoners in Guantánamo. Since when did we start locking people up without a trial in this country?
That's a lot of case files.
The prosecution won't show us the evidence they have against you. It's all redacted.
You get a problem, take it up with the government.
All my time here, I've been told you are guilty. Not for something that I have done, but because of suspicions and associations. I am innocent.
He has been interrogated. He has been held against his will for 6 years without a single charge being laid against him.
Doesn't it bother you at all working for someone like this?
I'm not just defending him. I'm defending the rule of law.
You haven't seen what I've seen.
Where I'm from, in Mauritania, we know not to trust the police. But never did I believe that the United States of America would use fear and terror to control me.
A couple of sleepless nights, that's all.
I've never been part of a conspiracy, but I'm starting to think this is what it must feel like to be on the outside of it.
You're overthinking this. Either wear the jersey or get off the field.
You need to tell me what happened to you. I can't defend you. Do you understand that?
You asked me to set fire to this place, but I'm still sleeping.
Maybe he's guilty.
Maybe he is. We're doing our job.
I'm not welcome home. That's not a part of my job.
If I'm wrong, when it comes to my reckoning, I'm the one that'll have to answer for it.
What makes you think you're any better than the rest of us?
I don't think I'm better than anybody else. That is the point.
For 8 years, I have been dreaming of being in a courtroom. Now that I'm here, I'm scared to death.
You know, I think I figured out why they built Guantánamo down there. My client, he's not a suspect. He's a witness.
Mr. Slahi, would you please raise your right hand and repeat after me?
That's the trailer for the Mauritanian, which is now streaming online. In addition to Nancy Hollander and Mohamedou Ould Slahi, we are joined by the film's director, Kevin Macdonald. His past films include the Oscar-winning documentary One Day in September, also Touching the Void and The Last King of Scotland. Kevin, welcome to Democracy Now! I was wondering if you could start by talking about how you came to do this film.
Good morning, Amy. I came to do this film because I was sent Mohamedou's beautiful book, Guantánamo Diary, which is the basis for the film. And I read it. I thought it was an amazing piece of writing, but I couldn't figure out how to make a film out of it. And I was going to turn down the offer. And then the producer said to me, talk to Mohamedou. And that's what I did. I got on Skype with him in Mauritania. And as you can see, it's not always the most reliable signal to Mauritania, but we had a long chat, and I was so captivated by him and his personal story. And I think one of the struggles has been with communicating the sheer scale of the horror and the injustice of Guantánamo has been that there hasn't been a single figure who has had the charisma and the appeal, I guess, if you put it in a crass way, to reach out to a wide audience, to make people understand on a human level what went on there. And I think Mohamedou, I saw, was that person. Mohamedou is such a charismatic, such an intelligent person. And I think that in his book and in his person, and I hope in the film, we present a very human portrait of what it's like to be imprisoned in that hellish place.
And can you talk about the making of the film, the getting of the major actors? I mean, Jodie Foster is also executive producer. She just won a Golden Globe for playing Nancy Hollander, also our guest on today's show. The persevering lawyer from New Mexico who represents Mohamedou Ould Slahi, and how you got it distributed and what it means to play in this country, though it's not a U.S. distributor, is that right?
No, it is. It's a U.S. distributor. The finance is largely American, in fact. There's a little bit from the BBC in Britain, but the rest of the finance is American. But it was very, very hard, as you can imagine, with this subject matter. And I think, even 5 years ago, we probably couldn't have got this movie made in America. We certainly couldn't have got American money. But now I think, Guantánamo is at a sufficient distance that maybe people's sensitivities are a little blunted, which is helpful. But of course, it is still an ongoing issue. There still are 40 people there. Mohamedou was only released in 2016, so it's only 5 years ago, and we started working on the film, or Nancy started working on the possibility of a film even before he was released. So it was a hard film to get made, and the only reason it happened was because these actors, Benedict Cumberbatch, who everyone knows from playing Sherlock, of course, Shailene Woodley is a wonderful young actress, and Jodie Foster, and Tahar Rahim, who's very well known in Europe, particularly in France, because they got behind it and saw that these were wonderful roles. But not only that, but this was a film that really, really wanted and needed their support.
I want to go to another clip from the Mauritanian when Mohamedou Ould Slahi's character meets with his lawyers, Nancy Hollander and Terry Duncan, played by Shailene Woodley and Jodie Foster.
I mean what I say. There's no evidence. I trust you, you trust me. I am innocent. I am innocent. Okay, what do you need to see to believe this?
It doesn't matter what we believe. What matters is what we can prove.
I like my interrogators, just like them.
We know that you're innocent. We do. But we have to prove that, and we can't do that unless we see the allegations against you. That's all we're asking for.
Who do you want to sue? You say government. What does it mean?
There'll be 3 names on the lawsuit. The United States of America, Donald Rumsfeld, and George W. Bush.
Sure. Why not?
That's a clip from the Mauritanian featuring actors Jodie Foster and Shailene Woodley as the lawyers, Nancy Hollander and Terry Duncan. And our next guest, actor Tahar Rahim, who is playing Mohamedou Ould Slahi. For more, we go to Tahar Rahim speaking to us from Paris. Welcome to Democracy Now! It's an honor to have you with us. We're also joined, in addition, by Kevin Macdonald, the director. Tahar, talk about your decision to play Mohamedou in this utterly painful film, a tremendous amount of focus on torture at Guantánamo. This wasn't an easy decision, was it?
So because first of all, when I read the script, I got mistreated. I made a mistake because I was thinking of the title, and the title was Guantánamo Diary at that time. And I would only read Guantánamo, and I thought it would be maybe the same stereotypical parts that I got in the past. And knowing Kevin, it couldn't be possible. So I read the script. I was very happy as an actor to get such a beautiful part with, many layers, colors, depth. And when I read the script over the course of this reading, I started to realize that I knew it, but it's a true story. So I felt sad, angry, and I was blown away by his ability to forgive people. And when I finished it, I really wanted to be part of the people who do him justice. Because sometimes we make movies for good reason, and sometimes movies are so meaningful that it's beyond cinema. And this one is beyond cinema.
And Mohamedou, you are the subject of this film. You wrote Guantánamo Diary, a magnificent book. First, when you were still in prison, we did a show on Guantánamo Diary, and your diary was read by Dominic West, of the well-known actor from The Wire and The Affair and other films. Can you talk about what this film means to you? And then, Tahar, I'd like you to talk about learning about what Mohamedou is going through from Mohamedou himself. But Mohamedou, what this means to you as you watch this film from Mauritania.
So, you know, when you hit rock bottom in Guantanamo Bay, and that I did, things can get only better. When you've been stifled for so many years, you have no voice. You cannot defend yourself. Not even yourself. I'm not even talking about a lawyer defending you. When there is only one single narrative, that is the narrative of the US government, the government against you, you can only get better. It started with the book, and I was so blessed. It was a best-selling book that has been translated into almost 30 languages. And not any movie, a major motion picture with the finest people of the industry. Kevin Macdonald, Tahar Rahim, Jodie Foster, Shailene Woodley, Benedict Cumberbatch, and others. And I am so like over the cloud. And Amy, this is not my movie. This is the movie of so many people. Some of the people who were kidnapped after 9/11 were tortured to death. They did not have a chance to tell their story. And there are many people everywhere now, as we speak, who are suffering in silence because there is no rule of law. They were taken away and they're in prisons. And this movie is telling their stories. And we just want one thing, just part of the want to enjoy the same freedom as you, Amy, and as the people in France and the people in the United Kingdom. We don't want to be the exception all of the time. We want just to enjoy the same freedom that you do, not being treated outside the rule of law. Because a simple citizen like you and me, we don't have weapons. We don't have the police. We don't have the CIA. All we have is the law. And if the law fails us, we're very much screwed up.
The film is very painful, but also has such poignant moments like this one, this clip from the Mauritanian, where Nancy Hollander, the lawyer, played by Jodie Foster, visits Mohamedou, played by Tahar Rahim, in his cell.
I'd like you to consider releasing your letters.
To a newspaper?
Maybe a book. People need to read your story for themselves. And it'll put pressure on the government to give us a court date.
I'm ready for that.
Would you like me to step outside?
Yeah, keep going.
You don't want to pray?
Are you religious now? Why do you care?
I don't. I care about you.
What do you want me to sign, Nancy? Who am I suing today? God?
No one today.
Then why are you here?
No reason in particular. I just didn't want you to be alone.
And that moment, she reaches out to hold Mohamedou's hand. Jodie Foster and Tahar Rahim playing Mohamedou Ould Slahi and Nancy Hollander. Nancy Hollander, why did you keep going back to Guantánamo? 14 years Mohamedou was held. Did you think you would see the day when he was freed in 2016?
Amy, I didn't know whether he would ever be freed. But I had to keep hoping that he would and working in every possible way we could. And when there was nothing happening, which was true for years, encapsulated in that scene, Terry and I took turns going back every couple of months to see Mohamedou because there was no other way to communicate with him. It's not like a regular prison where you can get phone calls. In the federal system where there's email, there's nothing. So we had to go there to make sure he was okay. And we spent, days there. Guantánamo is not a place where you go to the prison for an hour and then pick a flight to come home. The flights go down on Sunday and come back on Thursday or Friday. So we spent hours and hours and days with Mohamedou, and there were times when he gave up, I believe. When I questioned why he wasn't praying, it was because I felt that he was depressed. And at one point he did say, it's difficult to have faith here.
Mohamedou, let me ask Mohamedou, what kept you going? Your mother died while you were in prison.
To be perfectly honest with you, I really don't know. But, I kept of course, praying, meditating, but the thing that really brought me so much peace was when I decided to completely and utterly forgive everyone. And when I knew inside myself, and that I wished nothing but good life to my torturer and to the people who hurt me, I really felt at peace. And I found later on this saying that I wish I had said about this Canadian woman of Lebanese descent. She says, I forgive because you ask for forgiveness, and not because you deserve it, but because I want to move forward, or something to that effect. And that's really helped me a lot.
Tahar Rahim, did you communicate with Mohamedou throughout the filming of this? What did it mean for you to meet Mohamedou, to play him?
It's very important to meet him first, because I needed to meet him to make it happen so I could build my character. But the more I would talk to him, and the more I felt I was meeting with someone extraordinary. So I started to ask him some questions, like acting questions. And when we sorry Mohamedou to talk about it, I know it's makes it it's not cool, but we talked about the darkest moments of his life when he was there, meaning torture. And I could see that it was very hard for him to talk about it, and that is still wounded inside. He manages somehow to hide it and to control it. So I stopped. I didn't want to talk about it ever. And we talked and we befriended, and I was like, yeah, I'm really grateful to meet someone extraordinary. And I like to compare him to he kind of a mix between Mandela and Muhammad Ali. If you get a chance to meet someone that has the same level of wisdom in life, you should take advantage of it. And that's what I did. So I mostly listened to him. And yeah, it helped me a lot about my character. But as a man, it enriches me.
Nancy Hollander, you dealt with Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Couch, who is played by Benedict Cumberbatch. If you can talk about his ultimate decision to resign and what it meant for you to get the full documents of what happened to Mohamedou and what it meant for him, who fought almost equally as hard to get them.
I didn't actually meet Stuart Couch until later, but I read that article, The Conscience of the Colonel, which is shown in the movie. And
he was the prosecutor.
He was the prosecutor, yes. In that article, I learned, that's when we first learned several important things. One, that the prosecutor, who was a Marine, had decided that he was no longer, I'm sorry, he wasn't a Marine, I believe it was the Army, but he decided that he could not prosecute this case because Mohamedou's confessions relied on torture. This was an incredible decision by this military man to stand up for what he believed he was supposed to do. He believed that he was trained to support the law, to support the Geneva Conventions, to support the Convention Against Torture, and he did what very few people would do. He walked in, put the file down, and said, I cannot do this. And we also learned in that article for the first time that they were threatening the death penalty for Mohamedou. We didn't know any of that until later.
Mohamedou, we only have 30 seconds, and I wanted to ask you, as you speak from Mauritania, you married an American lawyer, you had an infant, you can't be together now. Your final message to the world.
My final message to the world is that democracy and the human rights do work, and people prosper under them. And people are more secure and more safe under the rule of law. And dictatorship and authoritarian regimes do not work. That is a fact. And
On
all
that
we want
note,
in this
we're
part
going
of the
to have
world
to leave it.
to have democracy and the human rights.